Hello and warm welcome, the audience, to New Generation Women, and I'm Janine van Zeenos. Our lockdown in Bavaria is extended, and therefore we continue our global online female story movement, this time with two love warriors from one country, two beautiful women, Kissa Paludan, a spiritual psychologist and a writer, and Greta Pictuschiete, originally from Northeastern Europe, Lithuania, and in 7 years she is in Denmark. Hello and big warm welcome from Munich to Copenhagen, dear Kissa and dear Greta. According to the Happiness Index, Kissa, Finland, Norway, and Denmark are holding top positions. How is Denmark dealing with the whole crisis situation right now?
I think we have a very successful, trustworthy government, which is an amazing thing to have. And I think we have just done whatever was necessary, and without too much anything really. We just do whatever's necessary and work together. And there's this very strong sense of belonging together and taking care of each other and trusting in the government's decisions, and I think we're doing very well. I feel very safe and very, very fortunate to live in Denmark.
Are you still on lockdown? Are you still locked down in Denmark?
Yes, we are, but we can go out. And it's not. It seems like it's not necessary to ask us not to leave the house. We do leave the house. We do go for walks. So there are some rules that we follow. But and it seems to be working now.
And are the restaurants closed?
The borders are closed.
So how is going, Greta, how's going shopping for you? Because at the moment we are queuing up. So only a few people are allowed to go into the supermarket. And it's getting stricter and stricter and stricter. How is it from your side? Because you are just in Denmark since 7 years. You come from Lithuania in Northeastern Europe. How is the situation there compared to Denmark?
I think here, as Kissa said, it's amazing. I also feel very safe. And for example, shopping here is easy. You just literally take care of others around you, but then you just go in and you shop. And you have the hand sanitizer and the gloves. They're available for you. I think it's way different back home in Lithuania. I hear stories of really strict rules and even people having jail time for example, misbehaving or mishandling the situation. So I definitely agree with Kissa. I'm also very lucky to be living here in such a conscious and communal society where you sometimes even get a message from police in your SMS, like asking you kindly, hey, stay at home even though it's sunny. And it's a police writing you that. So I think there's a really high level of awareness here.
And that makes me ache my heart, because I think this is exactly how it should be or supposed to be. I spoke with a wonderful woman. She's a leader and she is stuck with her family in Sweden, where she comes from originally. And she's leading a very big team in Casablanca. Now, she has exactly the same story, the differences between that and the ease that Scandinavia seems to have with the situation compared to other countries. And I told her the same story. I said, we had cars going out in the streets and they had loudspeakers on in English and German. And it was so scary communicated, like stay in the house. If you don't stay in the house, you have a penalty of this and this. And I would have loved to run out and say, who's your supervisor? Can I talk with him? Because the communication goes in such intimidated by police, and the presence is more a presence of power, not a presence of safety. Do you also experience this, Kissa, that you have that safety net, that welcoming, that warmth with your security and with the government?
Yeah, I have thought a lot about the communication in the government. It's been very straightforward, very honest from the beginning. This is the situation, it's serious, but without playing on fear. which I think is like this very delicate line, and they've done that so successfully. And I'm so critical with politicians and their communication. So when I say that, it's really a compliment. And they have asked us to work together. And our Prime Minister has said many times, I trust in the Danish people to be able to do this together. And it's exactly like parenting. You know, when we're shown trust and love and faith, then we will honor that, and we have done that as exactly like parenting. But being scolded or shamed out or with fearful communication, yeah, we would probably not be where we are now. I think the communication and the trust they have shown people is amazing, and it works.
I'm so happy that I have you guys in the story movement, because this is so different to what's happening here, and just showing positive examples in the world, how it can go differently, how conscious communication is differently. And I have taken pictures. I was on Detox News, and I just wanted to peek in shortly and see what's happening. So I have taken photos from my PC and from my screen where politicians are shown what they are announcing next. And these are absolutely not nice faces. There is so much tension in their faces, and it's like, it's so angry, and there's nothing soft or welcoming. And I might make a collage of all the pictures that I've taken from politicians, and I know they have a lot to do, but I think this is where the mastery comes in, and where the real masters are showing up, and the real role models are showing up, like, for instance, it seems to be in your country, to communicate, you said it beautifully, Kissa, in a sensitive, conscious way, so that people feel safe and they want to help you, they want to be engaged. And I said the security people should have something colorful, wear something colorful, or something like smileys on their jackets, something that is inviting. And if I would be a leader of security, I would say, you learn one thing: you go out and smile, you go out and welcome people and smile. But also, it's spreading into the people. When we go shopping, there's a real big tension in the shopping centers, even the Whole Food stores. So people are there even very tense. Everybody is afraid of bumping into each other. And as you said, you are a mirror of your government. You seem to really have that softness and that way of interacting in a kind way, togetherness also with the people. Greta, did you have the same experience as Kissa?
Yes, exactly. That is just you are very supportive of others, and for example, you feel responsible. I think that's exactly what Kissa said, like in good parenting, you show trust, and then you are trying to live up to the trust credit that you were given. And I think everybody here in Denmark does that, the young generation as well. I was actually positively impressed how conscious my friends are, or the youngsters around me, that they're actually going around like elderly, like doing this little circle and really trying to pay attention, even though it's not sort of dangerous for us, like younger generation. So I'm very grateful for that, and I feel really good and safe and happy here.
I can absolutely understand. And I always had a feeling, if I would love to move countries, I would love to go to Scandinavia. And Denmark and Sweden were always on the top of my lists. And when I was in Sweden once, and also in Copenhagen, I loved the softness. I can just describe it as there's a soft edge, a softness and a kindness. And yes, there is no coincidence that you guys are holding top positions on the happiness index. So I understand that. And it's seen now in the crisis situation. What we do have is that voices of microbiologists and voices of biologists are getting louder, that the whole, the stress that is made up is completely overextended. It's not necessary. And they are writing open letters to our Bundeschancellor, and they're doing also videos. But the public broadcasting industry has also forbidden those or just taken them out. So there are alternative resources where people try to speak up. But the expression or the freedom of expression and opinion seems to be limited. And the other voices are getting louder and louder and louder here in Germany. And that was something that struck me. Have you heard something happening in Denmark, Kissa?
Could you explain the question, please?
Yes, of course. Because I think the way how it is handled here to extremes, Easter is coming up. People are not even allowed to visit their family outside. You shouldn't leave your house. You shouldn't just go to a lake and sit there or have picnic. And my girlfriend has a disabled son, and he's in a home, and she cannot visit him anymore, and he's not allowed to go to her. So he would always come for the weekends. Now that, of course, made her very aggressive and angry, which I understand. And I think because of the strictness of those extremes, the voices of virologists and microbiologists become louder that this is not necessary, that after their studies and their lifelong experiences, it's a complete overreaction, and it's creating more harm than it creates goodness in Germany, for instance. So this is my question to you. Are there any voices, any alternative resources of Corona, what is happening with the virus, if it's as bad as it is said? Because they say it is not as bad as has been told.
Yeah, I guess people are asking questions like, how many people would have died anyway? And can we compare those numbers and things like that? But I think most Danish people are finding the rules kind of reasonable. Like, we can actually still be together, but we need to keep 2 meters of the distance, and preferably outside, and not go into each other's homes. And actually we are asked to go out for walks because it's good for the immune system. So I think in the first week or so in Denmark, people were a lot more tense when I went outside and went shopping, and the whole energy was different. It seems now that we have relaxed into the situation, and we feel, I think, confident that we will get through this in a good way together. I think the energy has changed in Denmark over the last week or so.
Yes, I understand that. And I think this is the way how it has been handled, that you got softer. Here I can see that aggression and sadness became stronger. Yeah. So the tension is different. It just became more aggressively acting against that. And I can see it because the way how it had been communicated and handled wasn't as conscious as it obviously has been handled in your country. Greta, you're in the millennial generation, and there's a judgment that it is said that millennials haven't learned to handle tough situations so far. So how are you feeling with your friends to handle this? I mean, we are still all safe. Most of us are healthy. We still do have, a roof, and we still have food. So it's not like that bad. It's tense and it's important, but we still do have food to eat and still have a bed to sleep in. But still, how do you deal with fears and worries? Are you comfortable more? Are you more secure and calm dealing with it when you see it in your circles of friends and compared to where you come from?
I think it's a very good question, and it's a fair point you're making, that we haven't been exposed to really hardships. And I think you can see that in people, how they're handling it. But I think what it comes down to is their individual self-awareness, and if they are working on themselves apart from the whole situation. So I think I can clearly see people who are spiritually grounded, they're handling it way better and way more positively than my other acquaintances, let's say. And back home, I think the overall level of awareness is a little maybe lower than here. And again, as you mentioned, governments are playing on this fear, on this imposition of rules, and really suppressing maybe people to a degree which is not necessary. So I think handling fear, it's more maybe not in terms of health, it's more of economical state that the younger generation, I think, is paying more attention at the moment. Given this all freeze out of the economy and all the borders, and a lot of companies have stopped to some degree working here in Denmark, I think that's the bigger thing that we are pondering upon, how that will affect the global economy, and should we be expecting crisis. So I think the differences are there, but here it all comes down how you handle the situations, and if you're able to stay grounded and find ways to cope with it.
You're working as a consultant, so how has it affected your work?
It has affected, of course. I had some client meetings that were cancelled, and cancelled in a very funny way. One client wrote me that due to the speech of the Queen, I'm cancelling our meeting because the Queen asked us to, stay home. So I was very much surprised that was his reasoning, but on the other hand, very pleased to see that, royal family, such icons here matter, and people do trust them and do pay attention and obey. And I think that's a very healthy sort of reaction of business also towards the situation, being mindful and being aware that it's affecting maybe not only you, but others as well.
Were you afraid, were there, nights when you woke up and you felt, oh shit, it might affect my, my income, I might be broke? Did it ever happen?
Of course, I think in the beginning, like what also Kisar mentioned, that the first week was way more tense. You could see that on people's faces, and I was also having those doubts and moments of just freezing and saying, okay, what now? But luckily, I have very firm network around me of people who are very supportive and who are able to ground me very fast. So it cannot get bad. Like, it's not gonna, as you said, we have still place to sleep, we have food. What can happen? We will just have to reinvent ourselves or the way we do business.
Kiss, I think we have, we started spirituality and living consciously and finding our own anchor quite a while ago. So it feels almost like this is in a fitness studio or soul gym that we have been trained in longer than this time. So if other people say it's so hard, I think, well, I had harder situations. I don't feel guilty now that I have lost some work. Everybody understands. I never received so much compassion, understanding. If I say I lost some of my work, I didn't know what's going to do before. I'd never had that compassion. And we are one. We are all sitting in the same boat. So I feel actually not this is my hardest training in my soul gym. How is it? How are you? Do you feel this is tough on you, or do you feel this is a gift?
I feel it's a gift. I can see how if I hadn't done the work that I have done, my personality type would be speaking a lot louder than it is now. I could see that if I was a lot younger or hadn't done the work, I would be worried about the lack of control in the situation, the insecurity.
Oh, I hope there she's back.
All of those things, but I can sort of know it's because it's within my personality, but it doesn't take the lead in the car. I know it could be there, and I'm still humble enough to know that it might show its face once in a while. But and now I'm so thankful for having done this work, because I can actually navigate those emotions, and I feel very trusting and in life. I'm doing good. I might not say the same thing next week. I want to be humble, but for now I'm doing very good. And I feel so grateful to have done the work that I have done, so that I can actually navigate.
I so understand. The audience, just please again be patient with us. Sometimes pictures freeze and our technique is not so strong because everybody sits in front of the PC, and the internet of course is overloaded. But stay tuned so we get through this, and you're always coming back, Hissa, which is great. And I think the same way, but I also know my type, and I know my triggers, and I would just go on detox, detox. I spent the first week in Hamburg, and I had freshly torn ligaments, and from one minute to another, my work was, you know, everything that we had planned for in Italy and in other countries, that was gone, with no outlook if we are going to pick it up again. And then my mom came waking me up in the morning, every morning, telling me the next news. So I was just so, and I really gave her rules to not give me that, to go with positive attention. But I was very happy when I was in my own bubble, and I could have my own bubble creating that way. So I would reach out to the positive information, not neglecting what is happening, but I would be very mindful which resources I would look to or look up to, for knowing I can trust those resources. I know they have a good outlook on that. I know that there are not fake news coming from them. And there's one of the resources, I just discovered her later. She is a medium. She's from Switzerland. Her name is Christina von Dreyen. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Well, don't know if she has English translations. She is German speaking, but she is a young girl. She started to, I think, to get well known with around 10 or 12. And now she must be 13 or 14. And she is a channeling medium. And the purity and the innocence when she says something is so nice and warm. It's just giving you such warm and calm feeling. And she said, look, the planet Earth is not, what did she say? It's a pink unicorn, and it's not, you know, some sweets. It has some hardship, but it's going to be good. And the whole Corona thing has also been initiated. But this is what's supposed to happen. If people go in aggression, into fear, into panic, then they are nurturing that what was supposed to happen when it was initiated. But if you have a positive contribution and bring this into the field, into the matrix, you are actually doing something that is the most important thing to do right now. And it was so simply said and made so much sense, because I felt anyway, I would love to do that. And of course, there are other people I'm listening to, and some of the news resources are really good. But I particularly paid attention that I would look into good resources, that I would be in my bubble and take it as my soul gym and grow from that. So I absolutely have to say that. And your specialty, Kissa, is to talk about, or to investigate into self-love and to teach people self-love. Now, this is a wonderful, wonderful time, while many of us might feel isolated, while many of us might feel needy, while many of us might feel disconnected. So there is this connection that is to our source, to our anchor, the love that's within us. How can we build on that when we feel isolated, disconnected, separated, afraid? How can we start to love ourselves where the real source of us is?
You just fell out. So are you asking me?
Yes. Did you understand the last question?
Yeah, I think so.
Super.
How do we
I will help you.
enhance the love to ourselves?
Yes.
Situation. Yeah. Okay. So I do see Corona as a huge call for love.
Mm-hmm.
In the Course in Miracles, it says that everything is either love or a call for love. Mm-hmm. And so this must be a great call for love. And mm-hmm. I think we are standing just in the beginning of a new way of living, completely new way yes. of living, where love will be our compass, our guide. Mm-hmm. And we do need to learn how to love ourselves, because everything in our lives is a mirror of the love that we have for ourselves, is a mirror of our relationship to ourselves. And so I think this time is a very strong call to return home. So we are asked to stay in our homes, but to return home to ourselves. Mm-hmm. To the first very important thing, I think, is always to train being present with yourself. We're so used to knowing, am I present with you when I am in contact with you? But so seldom we don't see, am I present with myself? Am I in contact with my body? What is my relationship with myself like? And we need to be present to be able to watch our thought systems, our psychology, and to be able to catch whenever fear and fear takes over and we feel not loved. Mm-hmm. And we can only do that if we are present. It's the only way we can sort of be conscious of our thinking and our emotions. And and to be able to make another choice. But I also think we do need to have a look at, where does this come from? How is it I feel? Where does this start in my life? Where did and I think actually, because I think we are an ego, a personality type, a structure, and a soul. On the ego level, we think we are separate from each other and from a divine God, and we think we need to do something in order to be loved. On a soul level, we know we are loved. Of course, if we ask the soul, do you think I'm lovable? It would say, I don't understand your language. I don't understand what you're saying. You are loved. How could you not be lovable?
Yes,
I think this journey from the ego and our personality structure, which will always be there as long as we live.
Yes.
But I think we really now need to know how to navigate our psychology so that we can return home to the love that we are more and more easily.
Yes. Let me give you an example. And I think other women experience the same thing. So my partner is stuck in another city. I was really isolated. I'm really isolated here. My family is all over the world, but not here. And then I cannot go to my dancing community. So my socializing that's happening every day when I'm working so much is just completely cut off. And I have a wound from my childhood. Loneliness is a big thing. So that just popped right up. And I felt, and then people would tell me how happy they are in their families and strong, and that they finally have family time. So my wound would just be alarmed in this, and I would feel very, not victimized, but I would feel the sadness that I would be there by myself. And then I said, well, this is, all what you said. This is your chance. This is your chance to feel your source. This is your chance to return home. This is the real love you can feel now. But of course, it's a mental concept at first. So I couldn't own that. I couldn't dive into that. The only thing I was bridging was being very gentle with myself, being very kind with myself, nurturing myself. What are you telling women who feel a similar way, who feel lonely because they're cut out or cut off?
Yeah, because what I see now in the communities that I'm a part of is that a lot of difficult emotions are arising in people right now. So I say exactly what you're saying. How much love can you meet yourself with when something's difficult, when you feel vulnerable? I actually just did a talk on vulnerability today. How gentle can you be with yourself? How dearly can you hold yourself or your inner child when you feel vulnerable, when you feel not good enough? How much love can you meet that with? Yeah. So I think
it's wonderful. And I love what you say about vulnerability. I mean, we all know the power of vulnerability of Brené Brown. She's one of my role models. I love the way how she is expressing her vulnerability. And I love that you did a talk on that, because it is vulnerable. And I was brave enough to say to people, I've never been working so hard like now. And there was a limit, and I was very vulnerable because I'm loyal to say to people, if I commit to work, I do it. But I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had to say, guys, for 2 weeks, I have to step out. And that didn't, that took a lot from me, because then I'm, even more disconnected. Now you reach out, you're connected online, you have a great group of people working on a concept, and you are even saying you're stepping out because you feel it's needed. But that vulnerability and that honesty for myself, and it was very well received, particularly by the women, not by the men. Either they didn't comment at all, or they just said, well, we counted on you. But the women were saying, I'm so happy that you speak up for yourself. Of course, take your time. You do wonderful work. And I said, isn't that interesting that the women say something and the men are so in their functioning mode? And I can see that there is a gender way how, men and women are relating differently. My partner just drives me nuts in all the information, but he is already changing in a week. He becomes softer with dealing with them, and he's doing more grounded work. My business partner in California was so angry on me, and I just was so furious. How could he be so angry? And he then apologized 2 days later, said, look, I was very aggressive, and I turned it out to you. So, so quick changes are so happening. What is happening in your generation? Is it easier for you because you come from a different generation? Maybe you guys, and particular women in your generation, might not be as hard as we are, because we can still be very hard to ourselves. Kissa, am I right? Would you say the same? Well, I'm the best at being hard on myself, I would say. So how is it for you? Has that changed? I hope she's hearing me. No, no, she's not. Can you hear me while I'm talking? No, why? Well, maybe I ask Kissa, you go out, so you leave? Yes, you go and you come back again. Oh no, there she is.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Have you back.
Sorry. Yes. So yes, the question about being hard on yourself.
Yes. How is your generation, women generation, dealing with that? It's easier for you to love yourself or be gentle with yourself?
I don't think that's a generational thing, to be honest. I think we all go through in our lives through situations and upbringing. So what you were describing about, feeling not worthy or having to work for the love or the acceptance, I also have that from my childhood as well. I think that's why maybe Peter thought that me and you, we have some similarities or somehow we could connect on that ground. And yes, so it is present for me as well. Like I judge myself a lot. And as you said, and as Kisser also said, it's all about how much love you can give. And I think this situation currently is a great opportunity for me to just really delve deep into it and really say, okay, what can be so wrong or so bad in me that I cannot give it to myself. Because as you both said, like the soul inside, it knows you're lovable. Like there is no question about that. But it's about my mindset. It's about me here and me in my heart. We have to come together. And often I find myself to be in my head rather than in my heart. And that's pretty strong because I grew up in such an environment where love, I felt, was given when you sort of perform. So I was always in performing arts or sports or any sort of other activities that, sort of, I felt I had to earn the love. And I think this situation now is just like teaching me so much. And I'm so grateful for this sort of involuntary retreat that everybody has to take. And recently I just saw a quote from Pascal, a philosopher and author, who said that all the humanity's problems comes from a human being incapable of sitting alone in a room quietly. So I think that's so beautiful to also think about that now you have to sit with yourself and be your own best friend and your own best supporter and cheerleader. And so I'm definitely on the path to learn it, but it's not a given.
Thank you so much. I just want to, have one more last question. I don't want to hold you back because I promise it's just going to be short and I could just talk ages with you guys. I mean, it's just awesome. Going back to gender and going back into the two generations, what I like is like when I open up the circle with women where we connect and tell stories and support each other online and feel safe. Women were just open and said, great. And it's like almost our ancestors were sitting around the fireplace, our grandmothers at the kitchen table, and now we're doing this online. When I look at men, there is this kind of obsession that I feel more to go for news, to feel a security and a sense of control when they know information. So even the ones that are professors in psychotraumatology, they are rather into news than into coming together into circles. And Dalai Lama said it once, the Western woman will save the world. And I don't know why he said Western woman, but I think there is something that we women have that is innate in us and, genuine in us, that is in those situations extremely strong and nurturing, not naive, but very nurturing and connecting. How do you perceive it, Kissa? Maybe I'm way too negative, but I do see that there is a different way of how gender deals with the situation. And I'm actually very proud to be a woman right now. I just have to admit that.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe there is a call for this archetypical mother right now, like the holy mother that loves loves you no matter what you do, that could never not love you. Maybe there is a call for that worldwide, to lean into this kind of mothering, this unconditional great love that's always there and always supportive. I do think there is a call for that right now, and if Dalai Lama said the Western women, it actually makes sense, in that I often think that in many ways we are so lucky because we have a roof over our heads, we have food on our table every day, so we don't have to worry about things like that, which gives us the luxury to work on ourselves, to work with personal and spiritual development in a way that, well, I'm sure that if I needed to put food on my children's table and I wasn't sure if I could do it, it wouldn't be my priority. I would probably even steal food in the supermarket. You know, so we're just so lucky, and that also comes with some kind of obligation, I think. Compared to probably the rest of the world.
No, I so understand. I have to laugh because I stole 2 rolls of toilet paper from my mother before I left Hamburg. We absolutely didn't get any toilet paper. So when I had my last session with my physiotherapist, I took 2 rolls of toilet paper from the bathroom so that my mother had some. But I so understand what you mean. Now, again, in your generation, and maybe I've got pink glasses on it, but I thought like the men are coming, new men, just have a different way how they relate to their feelings, expressing their feelings. And I felt almost my personality that would almost feel jealous, like, shit, why wasn't born in that generation? Things would have been so much easier with a man. I mean, I know from my strong 2 partnerships that were the most important ones, I always was, the birth giver to a new consciousness. And I said, if there is a next man or next partner, I don't want to do this anymore, never, ever again. So I wonder if you feel this differently in your generation and with the man you're talking to.
I think it also depends. You sort of surround yourself with like-minded people, or people who are of the same vibration. So I think I have this cocoon, let's say, of people around me who are very conscious. And if not like working on themselves actively, they somehow innately have that. And for example, even now, my partner, he's in the other room having a meeting, a talk with his group of men, reading spiritual readings and like discussing. So I think it definitely comes way easier to this generation of men to be more open and accepting of these things that you had to give birth in your own relationships. So I think now what I'm experiencing, that there's more openness, there's more balance in this masculine and feminine energies in both genders. So it's maybe not as extreme as it used to be prior, because of the archetypical roles and precisely the scarcity, that the man had to go out and hunt down the mammoth and bring it back, and you had to cook it. So it was way harder. And now I think overall we have way more comfort and way more opportunity for self-growth and self-development, precisely because we are not sort of pressed to the ground to survive. So I think that has been...
Greta, sorry, how awesome the picture. When I think of it, you're sitting here with 2 other women, while your partner is sitting in the next room and has, a circle with men and talking.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful picture. Kisser, my last question goes to you also. I heard that, and I see it from my partner, when he goes to his man retreats or man groups, he comes back like a different man. I mean, I just adore his presence. It is soft and strong. It is conscious and present. He is so present. I just adore that. Even his voice is just so deep. And it's like, wow, just can you go more? It also has a sexual presence in a very grounded way. So I talked with a group of men who do regular men retreats. And I said, what is the best thing about this men groups? And they said that we have real friendships. And I was like, wow, I was so almost emotional that's true. they start to have deep down and good conversations. Now you have an amazing partner, Kissa. Unfortunately, we don't have a photo of him, but for those who don't know him, he's extremely handsome. They are very, very beautiful couple together. And he seems as if he just knows it, owns it. Do you have this one and only man who came, or did he also work his path, not in the most easiest way?
I actually saw him the first time when he was 15 and I was 16, and I knew that's my husband.
Wow.
And so, but we became a couple when we were 19 and 18 and 19. So that's 32 years almost.
Wow.
And yeah, when
I have goosebumps.
Yes, yes, they are really beautiful together.
Yeah, when I was 20, I started therapy, and I had been wanting to do that for a long time. But so I felt like I was pretty old starting. And then a year and a half after, I actually said to him, "You need to start therapy. You need to start working on yourself, because otherwise I'll outgrow you, and I really don't want to do that." And so he was like, "Well, what do you want me to work on?" And I was like, "Well, grow up." Get disattached from your mom, whatever. And he's always been willing to do whatever it has taken for us to be on the same path, which I'm so grateful for.
But also from your point, because I think that is so brave. So many women in our generation, I'm sure they want to say the same thing. We are both students and teachers of A Course in Miracles. I mean, we have 2 men or 3 men in our group. The rest are women from all over the world. And I'm sure that in our generation, lots of women would love to have their men be more open to consciousness. And when you went to your husband, later husband, you said to him, "I please would love you to work on yourself. Otherwise, I outgrow you, and I don't want that." I think that is such a beautiful, brave way to say that. I really have to remember that for my partner. No, but I really think that is so beautifully how you said this, and that he goes along with this, because it's not, you want to grow together. And I really love that. Do you, now I really promise to make it my last question. I really promise. Do you have couples where you see the same happening with couples where the female wants to, move forward, be more conscious, and then the man is just a drag along?
All the time. Most of my groups are almost only women, and I have seen many, also because I've done a lot of couples counseling, couples therapy. I have seen a lot of couples where the man will actually say no to the relationship, even though he really loves his wife. He would rather lose her than he would work on himself. I have seen that many times with couples coming to me and friends around me. It seems to be so scary for so many men to go within and to do the work that a lot of women are willing to do. And actually, because I've been on this path since I was very young, I understand it does take a lot of courage to work with yourself. It really does. To be able to, or willing to meet everything within, all the deep sorrows, everything, to be able to do that. I think women in that aspect are a lot more courageous than men. Men would rather do a bungee jump from a high bridge than they would sit in one of my groups. And sort of, I do understand it.
Yeah, but you come with a different perspective. I think I went more into judgment because after my divorce, I was alone for 7.5 years, and it was not about just meeting another man. I wanted to be in a conscious relationship, and that was a hardship to find there. And my partner knows. I always say to him, if this shouldn't work out or doesn't work out, my partner is going to be a woman. I cannot go the same journey again. I never want to wake up anybody and push anybody. And then my girlfriends always say, it's a running gag, "Are you a lesbian?" And I say, no, I'm not a lesbian. I just want to be in a conscious relationship with a human being, and I don't care about gender anymore. And I think there is also a beauty of that. But what would you say from your experiences, Kissa, to the women who are watching this? Because I did it on purpose to choose 40 plus as an audience. It's sometimes so good to have some freshness also in there. Greta, thank you so much for that, because we learned so much from your generation. But I did it on purpose because I think that we have a drive. We want to move forward. We are brave. We look at our shadow work, and not because we are humbled when we do it, just we feel it, we cannot help it, we are almost pushed to do it. So what would you say to women who are in a relationship right now with men who get more aggressive, who just are more news junkies, and they want to hold a space that is more nurturing? How would you help them right now? That's a difficult question, I know.
Well, two things comes to my mind. One is to be able to understand the dynamic, the psychology behind the way that some of these men react right now, and to see it's all based on fear, and to be able to have compassion with that, I think is one of the ways it could go. But also to be courageous and loving enough towards yourself to ask for what you need as a woman. To like I asked my husband back then, and I still do that once in a while now. You need to follow me again. I have taken 2 steps ahead. Please come with me. And I think that's also a very important thing, to be able to love ourselves enough to know that the relationships that we have are a mirror of the love that we have for ourselves, and we do deserve like the most beautiful relationships ever, because that's who we are. So yeah, that would be to really love ourselves enough to ask for whatever. Yeah.
And also the way, and we go back and close the circle, when you started to explain how Denmark is dealing with the situation in such a way that people are helping and connecting and are going with it. Our aggression came because the government and the media and the security system didn't deal with it now well. I think that's where the aggression is coming. So the same is when we go into the microcosmos. When you seem to ask your husband, say, I'm 2 steps ahead, I would love you to come along. It has an invitation, and you don't seem to get emotional. I think that is something I have to learn. Oh boy, yes, I think I get emotional right away. And I'm threatening almost. And I think I really have to learn something. Thank you so much, guys. I learned so much today, and I know it was way longer than I promised you. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you, dear audience, for watching. This was New Generation Women. And wherever you are, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned. And we are going on Friday to Scotland, where I catch a modern, highly entertaining witch. It's going to be very fun. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Greta.
Thank you.